It is quite simply known as the greatest rivalry in all of sport. Not college football, all of sport, as I said by Urban Meyer before his first game in 2012. And in the state of Ohio, it is a ritual, and we raise them right. As you can see, we have the newest member of the clan wearing my favorite onesie, and he has one of those in his diaper. Not really, but he did earlier. Now, if everyone would please remove their caps for the playing of the Ohio National Anthem. Welcome to the live preview of the 117th playing of the game between the Ohio State Buckeyes and that team up north, the Michigan Wolverines, taking place tomorrow at high noon, live on Fox with Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson on the call. It is going to be a great night. There are 5 guests, actually 6 as soon as I call in the older boy, 4 of which will be verbal, as one is not. So let's jump right into it. My buddy JC Blue Note got in here right and early. And Jim, welcome to the show. Thank you for popping on. I know it's not our usual spot, but we'll do that in a couple weeks. But what do you think of his onesie?
You're really going to start by doing that? Happy Black Metal Friday, everybody. So,
well, I'm going to pass him off to go to mommy. Bye-bye, Bubby. All righty. I don't know if you heard me play the Ohio National Anthem a minute ago.
Now you know why I was kind of dreading coming on tonight, but we're gonna do with it what we can, and all of our normal hijinks will be next week. You were saying week after, something like that.
Yeah, next week or the week after. And as always, I will say this: I don't own that recording. That is the Ohio State Men's Choir. From several years ago. Someone put it up on YouTube, and I heard it the other day, and I just thought it was absolutely going to be perfect tonight because, listen, you are not the only one who's anti-Scarlet and Gray that's going to be on tonight. I have an honest-to-God Blue fan that's going to be on at the end.
That gift that you sent me earlier, I did not really want to comment.
Oh, come on. At least one of those times his life is bad. For those who are wondering what the GIF is, it's a kid in a Michigan jersey and a Steelers hat. It says, "My life sucks twice."
Yeah, we'll save the Pittsburgh jokes for our for the Wiseguys show.
That'll work
because we can go all night on that, and you and I have a very limited time here tonight.
Yes, we do. I'm going to keep it everybody to about 20 minutes apiece. Jim, thank you for being the first one on. I figured let's get you on here. You're not a fan of either team. You are a hater of one of them, but I believe a respecter of both teams as far as being an outsider when it comes to this rivalry. So yes. I want to talk to you about 2 things real quick, and then we'll dive into one last thing. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is a lot of the talk this week coming out of Joel Klatt, coming out of ESPN, has been about Michigan's ability to rush the passer. But I want to give you 2 stats. I actually did homework today. They are 4th in the Big Ten in sacks. Guess who's number 1?
The team that you're wearing.
Exactly. Second thing, they were up multiple scores against Michigan State several weeks ago. Remember?
Right.
Do you know that Peyton Thorne's numbers that day were 19 of 31, no touchdowns and a pick and 196 yards, or 2 picks and 196 yards?
Keep in mind with that Michigan, this is going to be I think this is going to be a lot closer than a lot of people are thinking here.
No. I am not calling a blowout. This is going to be a 15-round heavyweight fight.
The Buckeyes are only a 7-point favorite on the road here. Name the last time that they were a less than double-digit favorite, especially in this game.
2018.
Exactly. You got to go back several years.
Yeah, but do you remember what the final score was in 2018?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say this. The pass rushers for Michigan are elite, and they are going to be great on Sunday. I will give them that right away. This is not me taking shots at that team. This is me being legit here. But Kenneth Walker, 23 carries for 197 yards and 5 touchdowns in that game against the Michigan State game. So I will say this. Is any one of our backs Kenneth Walker? No, I don't believe that. But I think the stable of Travion Henderson and Mayan Williams and Master T can do some damage against a very, very good front seven who's really their biggest thing is a pass rush on the edge. So what I'd like to ask you is, are they going to make Ohio State be one-dimensional running the ball, or do you think they can hang with them if C.J. Stroud tries to sling it around the yard?
And trust me, I've got a lot of stats here, not individual, but team stats.
Hold on.
You broke it. Nice job.
No, I grabbed my water and I knocked it over. Oh, live television. Go on.
I think right now, Ohio State's going to get theirs. Averaging 559.5 yards offensively leads the nation. And the next closest is Pitt at 530 and change.
Really?
Michigan is yes, yeah. It's trust me. I tore ESPN and Fox and CBS's website apart this afternoon. Michigan is 10th in the nation in yards per game given up on defense. They give up just over 306 a game. To show you really how good Michigan's defense is and where I feel that they are going to try to make Ohio State one-dimensional. In this case, Michigan is 10th in the nation. They are only 1.5 yards behind Cincinnati, and they are only 0.3 of a yard behind Alabama. There's 2 teams that they're sitting behind in the college football playoff rankings right now. You've got a 2 versus 5. Whoever wins this game, they're basically in, barring some sort of catastrophe against whoever comes out of the West, because right now it's Wisconsin wins, they're in. Wisconsin's got to lose, and then Iowa needs a little bit of help, with the tiebreaker and some things to line up there. Ohio State is the second best in the Big Ten against the run, and Michigan is 6th. Ohio State's averaging 103.5 on given up on the ground. Michigan's at 128. So Ohio State's gonna get their rushing yards. Michigan's gonna give those up, but with Ohio State right now, with their offense, with the way that they sling it around, it's really going to come down to, can Ohio State, between possibly running the play action, if they can get the play action pass involved, if they can actually start opening up some holes and breaking off some big chunks of yards, I honestly think that Ohio State, I don't want to say is going to run away with this game, but they're going to win this comfortably. Michigan's key to this game, in my opinion, is can they get to that Ohio State second level? Because if they can't get past the front seven, they're done, and this could actually be uglier than last week.
Well, now listen, I sat here with our buddy Creedy's 3 years ago. 2019, I didn't do it because of some stuff going on, and last year, of course, Michigan punked out. But I sat here and we talked about basically the same thing, and that was the defense with Devin Bush. Who's the crazy one with the long hair? Chase? No. What was it? Not Winovich. You know who I'm talking about? The one who coined the revenge tour thing.
Oh yeah, I'm not too good with names because again,
he's in New England. Who cares?
Yeah,
he's in New England. Who cares?
Yeah. I'm definitely not going to know who he is because I'm a Patriot hater too.
Amen.
That's my dad's team, so that's why I'm a hater.
I love it. So, anyways. I think it's going to be a close game, and I think they're going to have to win the game on the ground because of the zone defense Michigan plays. Now, I didn't see it. I was looking at this here. Michigan is +7 in the turnover ratio, which is second in the Big Ten. this is it. They're coming into a game where for the second time in 3 years, they are facing the number one offense in the country in one facet or another. The 2018 team was the number 2 overall offense and the number 1 passing offense in the Big Ten with Dwayne Haskins and those boys there. Scary to say, I think this receiver core is better than Haskins, who had Paris Campbell and KJ Hill and Terry McLaurin and a young Chris Olave who caught his first touchdown pass in that game. First 2, actually. So can Michigan has number 1, do you think they can keep up with their zone defense? And number 2, if they can't, how do they stay in this game? And I'm not saying it as an Ohio State fan. I'm really not. I'm asking this legit because this offense last week, I sat on my couch and I watched this game and I'm going, what, 7 for 7?
Right.
Against a very good defense?
My dad and I were actually planning on watching it together. I was going to pull up a stream here. He had it on at home, and every time I checked in, they had put another 2 scores on the board. It's like, okay, it's back to whatever hockey game I was watching,
I was sitting here,
or playing video games.
Well, I did. The big ones I'll watch all the way through, but yeah, there's been times where I've thrown Paul Keels on the radio, Bluetooth it to the sound bar, and I'm playing either MLB or Madden or something. So let's get into national implications because you and I have dived into the CFP, and I wanted to ask you this question: how good does it feel to see Cincinnati at number 4?
Oh, I think you and I brought it up in the text. How's the old line from Ric Flair go? It's a lot easier jumping on than jumping off. When you're in, you're in. It's with the way that they beat East Carolina today, and they're going to end up. They're going to actually get their shot against Houston, who they didn't actually play in the regular season. But Cincinnati's basically in. The winner of this game tomorrow is essentially going to be in, and then it's just going to be a matter of seeding at that point. I don't see any scenario where a team is going to have a strong enough resume to jump Cincinnati into that top 4. And if things line up the way that they do, let's say that Michigan pulls. I don't want to actually call it an upset because it's only a 5 over a 2 and you're only a 1 touchdown dog at home. Let's say Michigan wins this game. Let's say Georgia falls to Alabama in the SEC title. Could you see a scenario where Cincinnati actually has the resume and jumps to maybe a 2 by process of elimination at this point?
They would need a lot of help. That would mean Oklahoma State loses Bedlam as well. Not only that, okay, Oklahoma State would have to lose Bedlam. Alabama would have to beat Georgia, which I don't think is going to happen. I don't think Alabama's that good. Not only that, they would need some more teams to lose. Because if it goes against me tomorrow, and then because I think Wisconsin can beat Michigan if they run the football with that kid. What's he, 17? Their running back, he's a true freshman. He's not 18 yet. Yeah. He's not 18 yet. If running the football, I think they can beat that team. So you're talking now, the way Cincinnati gets to 2, Georgia wins out. Bucks lose. You have Wisconsin wins the Big Ten, and they don't have the resume to get in. And then you have absolute chaos in the Big 12. But the problem with that is it's going to open the door for a 2-loss Oregon.
And think about this, is the last time you and I got together a couple of weeks ago, we were actually thinking about Ohio State, Michigan State, because that was actually coming up. Just 8 days ago, you had 3 Big Ten teams in the top 6. And if Michigan beats Ohio State tomorrow and then loses in the conference championship game, none of them are going to get in.
No, they're not. They're not. They're not going to let a 2-loss conference champion get in the Big Ten. They've already made that statement. The 2017 Ohio State team. So that's what's going to be fun about tomorrow is that, quite honestly, unfortunately, Khaki Pants said it best. This is a playoff game. The winner of this game gets to move on.
Exactly. And for those of you actually thinking that that khaki pants is going somewhere. Keep in mind, he signed a 4-year extension back in January. So if they were to fire him after this game, let's say the Buckeyes go out and blow out Michigan by 40 points tomorrow, they would actually owe him $4 million. And then the way that contract staggers over the next 4 years, the guaranteed money drops $1 million every year. So if they fired him after next year, he's only owed $3 million, then $2 million, then etc. Michigan doesn't really, even though they've got a habit of paying out coaches, I don't think they'd really actually want to terminate somebody with that kind of price tag, let's be honest.
Never mind that. Now, and listen, he did say he was going to beat his 2 rivals or die trying. And, of course, Ryan Day said rest in peace. But
I'll give Day his credit because he didn't take the money and run like Herb did.
Agreed. Now, I will say this. This was going to be an entirely different format had I not had a bettering of my brain. We talked about this. It would have been uncouth in the current world. But I will say this. I'll write him a eulogy if he gets blown out tomorrow. Because I don't like, first of all, we were basically, when he came in, remember, that was the same year that the first year of the college football playoff, Bucks win the national title. That fan base got crazy because Harbaugh came home. We expected a new 10-year war. Let's be very honest. For those of us who know the history, we expected another 10-year war. What have we gotten? We've gotten a 2 versus 3 game, which was one for the ages in the double overtime game in 2016. But outside of that,
we've received basically Brown Steelers at the collegiate level. One of the most storied rivalries in the history of the game has basically been so one-sided, it's not even worth watching half the time.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, I know you would. If you're not personally invested in this, if you're in Nebraska, if you're in Florida, you're turning this game on for maybe the first quarter, and then you're finding something else to watch. Just so this way, it's kind of like how some people are with the Army-Navy game.
I love that game. I love that game. My father-in-law used to go every year.
You tune in for the nostalgia, but you're not really paying attention. That's all that you're doing.
I mean, I'm less than 40 minutes from West Point, so it's a little bit different with me, obviously.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Zach, who was my older boy, who was running indoor track, that's what the track is on campus at the military academy.
Very
so
cool.
He'll be on there a bunch. So listen, we are coming. We got a few minutes left, you and me. I see Alex is sitting from row 7. My buddy from Chicago is already sitting in the waiting room there. So we're going.
And Alex, I almost wore a Blues hat.
He stepped away. He stepped away.
I'm just gonna leave him a message in advance. I was thinking of wearing my blue stuff, and then I saw that the Blackhawks beat them in overtime, and I'm like, I can't show my face then.
You hockey guys are crazy. Real quick, let's go off topic.
I could have thrown my Blues banner behind me, but I decided against it.
Let's go off topic real quick. What was your impression of the new arena?
Absolutely gorgeous. The problem is the Islanders can't score. They have not won. They haven't. I mean, sure, they're getting some guys back off of COVID right now, but it's they couldn't score at all. I tried to watch both opening games last weekend. I definitely want to get up there for one. That place got loud the first time they actually scored in there. That could actually end up being the loudest arena in North. Basically, that could actually end up rivaling Chicago. And when I was there for CM Punk's arena, I've never felt a building shake before. I've actually felt Brown Stadium shake. I've never felt an arena shake before.
Boiler Room Brawl SummerSlam in the mid-90s.
The one that Royan got thrown out of.
I was in that group of people that went with him.
That's right. He did go with you.
So I felt an arena shake too. So we got about 5 minutes, you and me. So let's dive into keys to the game here. I'll give you the keys to the game for Ohio State, and it's going to be their defense. They're going to have to play defense and stop the run, do something they've done all year long. And not with this quarterback from Michigan. He's not bad. He's not bad. He's not great, but he's not bad. I think they're going to have to make him win this game, which he hasn't had to do all year. I think they're going to have to win the turnover battle again in order to win this game. I think Michigan's defense is better than what people is better than what I think it is. And it's going to be a close one. My key to the game for Michigan is don't get behind. Because we both know Ryan Day will put his foot on Harbaugh's throat, and that'll be the end.
Yep.
So if you had to give one key for Michigan to win this game, what would it be?
They've got to actually be able to establish the play-action pass and be also able to throw the football, because Michigan's only averaging about 220 yards, just under 230 yards passing all season. They are one of the best running teams in the country. But they've got to be able to throw the ball. Ohio State is sixth in the nation at passing at over 360 yards a game. Ohio State's going to be able to stretch the field. Can Michigan get into that second level, as I mentioned earlier? If Michigan cannot get in that second level, and Ohio State is having, if Ohio State is actually having to bring that back four up and maybe start putting 8-9 guys in the box, it's once they actually play from behind, even if Michigan gets momentum, I don't actually see how they can actually dig it out. They can make it respectable, but it's still going to actually end up as the same result. It's just going to make it look good in the eyes of the pollsters.
I agree with you, and I will say this. The interior of the Ohio State defensive line with Haskell Garrett and those boys there, they have played outstanding. You can't run between the tackles against this team, which for several years was when they had Chase Young and Nick Bosa and those boys, you could run on the interior. You could not run on the exterior of that defensive line. So Haskell Garrett and those boys have played phenomenal, because if you stretch, they do have decent linebackers who can get out to the outside. Due respect to him, Tough Borland wasn't a guy you could trust to get a running back and set the edge, as you can some of these boys now, especially with Ugalele and Jack Miller, Jack Sawyer, the two 5-star DN recruits that are playing outside linebacker, by the way. They've been kind of like what Bosa did his first year. Really didn't hear his name a lot till the end of the year. Now they're starting to play more. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good one. TV's all set up, ready to rock. I'm glad it's Gus and Joel and not Herbie and Fowler.
At the very least, I'm actually hoping, because the last time I remember Gus Johnson, or at least remember watching Gus Johnson call an Ohio State game, it was hurt my feelings.
Denzel Ward's hit against
Maryland, which actually I think he broke out last week.
He broke
out when he was calling the Browns game.
I didn't hear that, but I heard he did do the Browns game. My favorite Gus Johnson call, and then we're going to get Alex in a minute, is actually the Big Ten championship game against Wisconsin, which, by the way, if the Bucks win tomorrow, this will be the 5th consecutive one. You ready? Wisconsin, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Northwestern, Wisconsin.
It hinges on Wisconsin, though.
It does. So saying that, my favorite one was Dobbins broke a big run in that championship game his freshman year, and he actually said the words, "Look at this freshman," and he was losing his mind.
Yep. There's only a couple of guys I actually can kind of love. You and I have established a couple of weeks ago, we love Joe Buck. Gus is great, but quite honestly, there's one guy who I think is better than all of them. Kevin Harlan.
Kevin Harlan is he's the voice of 2K.
Yes, it's he's also no regard for human life.
That's a great line.
And let's also remember a couple of years ago with he was actually calling the Chiefs game that he was at, and he was also calling the Patriots game that was actually keeping up with the score, because Kansas City had to win to get the 2 seed. So he was calling both games at the same time.
Wow.
I gotta send you that clip. It's hilarious. It's I think my personal favorite Kevin Harlan call was a fan runs on the field in the middle of a 49ers Rams game, and he's calling the guy drunk. He's bare chested, and he
I remember that. So, Jim, I got to tell you,
that was classic.
I got to tell you, I'm going to jump on with Alex, but thank you for jumping on. I appreciate it. I will talk to you next week. We will dive into the LeBron article next week. I promise.
Absolutely. Good talking to you, Nezzy. Everybody else, have a great night. And Wise Guys, we'll be back with you guys next week.
Take care of yourself, Jim.
Have a good one,
Thanks
Mike.
again, buddy. We'll see you.
Later.
So my next guest is this is the first time I'm doing this, so I'm going to have several guests. And my next guest is one of my favorites. He's actually the only guest I've had on more than twice because Jim and I now do our own show. So that's a different animal. But it is Alex from Row 7. He is the man in Chicago. He is in the cradle of Big Ten country. And I see he is sitting in front of the China cabinet this evening. Alex, what's up, buddy?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you been, bro?
Busy, man. Busy, but doing well.
Yeah, how was Hotlanta?
Nice. Nicer than back home.
Warmer?
Warmer to say the least. I mean, I'm bundled up right now, so.
Dude, this is actually a sweatshirt.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It's got the big Rican on the back, too. I had it made when they went to the Fiesta Bowl. They should have beat Clemson. So let's dive into two things real quick. Number one, W's W yesterday, my friend.
W is a W, yes.
We're missing our partner in crime. I didn't hear back from him, but it was going to be the three of us now. That way we can, we can do whenever we do stuff. It's always the three of us. So, but all right, let's dive in. You're in the cradle of Big Ten country in there in Chicago, Illinois. As I said to Jim just a couple minutes ago, you had stepped away. If it goes the way I want it to tomorrow, here's who they played. This will be the fifth consecutive year in the Big Ten championship game, and it's gone Wisconsin, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Northwestern. They win tomorrow. It's Wisconsin. So let me ask you this. In the cradle of Big Ten country, how big is tomorrow for Jim Harbaugh to keep his job?
I mean, I feel it's massive for him, but I mean, we've seen him scuffle year after year in Michigan, and he still somehow maintains a job. So it's kind of like Matt Nagy here in Chicago. I mean,
you hate that man.
It's not so much hate. It's just that if I don't do good at my job, I get fired. So if he doesn't do good at his job, you would think that the stars would align and you're under 500 for another season, and no playoffs again here in Chicago. Hub of what I think the NFL is, and it's neither here nor there. This is not that type of podcast for that.
So let me ask you this, and I brought up the Bears for two reasons. One, I wanted to see the look on your face when I said a W is a W. And the second thing was there's speculation that if they lose tomorrow and Harbaugh gets canned, the first team to reach out is going to be the Chicago Bears. How would you feel about khaki pants on your sideline? Considering he was a quarterback for the Bears.
It's a move that I can see them doing, but it feels almost like a lateral move from what we have right now. There doesn't seem to be any type of advancement. I know that he's been around the game for basically his entire life. I know he lives, eats, and breathes football, but will it translate onto the football field? I ultimately think it wouldn't, but I can totally see that as a Bears move going forward. If the stars were to align and he gets canned inevitably by Michigan, it's a possibility, but with everything that's kind of been put in place here, and I hate to take it back to NFL route, it almost seems that Nagy and Pace will be around for at least the 2022 season. So, okay.
And, we're talking about him scuffling. He's 10-1. He's number 5 in the country.
Yeah, and I say that lightly and loosely in terms of his years past. I know this year he has done well, and he's not scuffled on the big stage except for a couple weeks ago against Michigan State. But in terms of those big games, I mean, he's 0-5 against Ohio State, and tomorrow is Ohio State, Michigan.
Oh, that's the big one. Absolutely. I mean, it's like I had said at the beginning, it is, as Urban Meyer said before his first game in 2012, it is the greatest rivalry in all of sport, not just college football, all of sport. I know you weren't on, you didn't catch it. Bobby had on his I have a Michigan in my diaper onesie.
So at this rate, are you sleeping tonight, or are you just jacked through the night?
Dude, he don't like to sleep, man. I did all the cooking for Thursday too.
Oh, did you?
So I'm a little wiped. Oh, yeah. I went a little crazy. So let me ask you this. I know you're not a huge college football guy. The NFL is more your thing. Did you happen to see what my boys did last Saturday?
Bits and pieces. I would be lying to you if I told you I caught, the entire game or majority of the game.
Okay. So as Jim and I were saying, they went 7 for 7 on their first 7 drives. CJ Stroud threw 6 touchdowns in the first half. As somebody who you're a fan of the Monsters of the Midway, defense. Do you think that this team that you saw give up 200 yards to Kenneth Walker, can they hang, or am I am I really trying to be as less optimistic than I should be?
No, I think you have all the reason to be optimistic. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, CJ Stroud is top 2, top 3 for Heisman, at least in my opinion. I could definitely see tomorrow being a shootout. I know in the weeks past, Ohio State has been a little, not lackluster, but they've given up points. So I can definitely see that tomorrow be like a, 35-27, 35-30 type of game. I think both teams will put up points. It won't be like a, a 7-3 final score in a game. I think both teams will have success. So it will just be a matter of them coming out on the W side of that, 27 or 35-27 type of game.
No, I gotcha. So yeah, and listen, again, thank you for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I wanted to make this as big of an episode as I could with missing last year, with Michigan basically skipping out because of the COVID. I see Jim is still here. He's still watching. So one other question about this game, then I want to jump into one other thing with you real quick. As I said, I'm going to do a bunch of topics, but it's going to be mostly focused on this because when Willie comes on in a little bit, he's an actual Blue fan.
Oh, okay.
So that's when him and I are going to go at it.
There's going to be a little bit of a scuffle, huh?
Exactly. Excuse me for a minute. You're a hater, not a fan. Stop it down there. I can still see you. Jim is not an Ohio State guy at all. He's not. What did he put up the other day? It was a sign, and it said the guy's doing OHIO. It was OHFU.
Oh.
I mean, it's bad. It's bad.
Okay.
The one I shared today. Well, you saw the one I sent to our group chat on Twitter, right?
I did, yeah. I did.
Remember, last year at Big Ten Media Days, Ryan Day told the team after Harbaugh ran his mouth that he was going to hang 100 on him.
I do remember that. I've heard the chatter and the talk that it's going to be a funeral. There will be a burial. So there's definitely some fighting words out there.
I'm telling you, the first line of Harbaugh's obituary is going to be, "I promised the 10-year war. I didn't give it." So now, how much of the rivalry do you actually know about? Because I didn't get indoctrinated until I was in my early teens when I moved from upstate New York to Northeast Ohio. But since then, I have eaten, breathed, and slept this rivalry every year. This is the one game a year where my wife knows all bets are off. This Super Bowl, World Series, we'd have to talk. But there is no other game in the college football season that is as important as this. Thanks, Jim. So how much of it do you know, and how much of it do you think is fan driven as opposed to player driven? Because it's definitely media driven when they're trying to get ratings. And by the way, both Big Noon Saturday and Game Day are going to be in Ann Arbor tomorrow.
No, I would definitely say that I'm a novice in terms of, the rivalry between the two. But I mean, just like most of them, it's always fan driven, regardless of the sport. If the teams are within the same state or a state or two away or connected by whatever it means, it's always fan driven, whether it's blue and yellow or red and white, whatever it may be, it's definitely fan driven. And I think that there's definitely some, some bragging rights and animosity that there could be there with the players and coaching and stuff like that, just to kind of say that, our boys won it, this is what we get to rip. But it's 100% the fans are really what bring it home.
Let me give you a little history lesson. This rivalry did not start on a football field. It started on a battlefield. Due to a surveying issue when Ohio and Michigan were becoming states, the Toledo Strip was left to Ohio, and Michigan didn't like it. They actually fired weapons at each other. So I'd say football is kind of an easier way to deal with this, especially with, murder capital of the USA in Detroit. I think we'd lose that one. The biggest thing that seems to happen all the time is guys from Ohio who are very good end up going to U of M, and a couple times vice versa. For instance, Desmond Howard is from Cleveland.
Went to Michigan.
Exactly. Mike Weber, the running back from Ohio State a few years ago, from Detroit. So you have that cross. Elvis Gerbach.
Okay.
From Cleveland. So that's been the big thing. There's a video I saved on YouTube. HBO did a documentary, 15 years ago now, but when it was 1 versus 2 in 2006. And they just took the rivalry from day one until after that game. And the insanity. Let me put it to you in terms you'll understand. Think Packers-Bears times 1,000,000.
Okay. I mean, it already is.
It's blood hate.
Yeah, there's definitely that hatred that we have, and sitting on the Illinois side, and you talk about Wisconsin being just, a couple miles away realistically. So I get it. I mean, but I definitely think that in terms of college, from the college perspective, it is amplified 100%.
Yeah, it's odd like that though too. You would think the NFL would be more into it. Like people always ask me that are baseball people, what would I liken this to? And it's Yankees Red Sox.
Right.
But again, Yankees Red Sox is romper room compared to this. Listen, tomorrow, if you have the ability to watch this game, because the players don't like each other, the coaches don't like each other. Respect left, right, and center. They just don't like each other. And now you're coming into even at just number 5, to play spoiler like that would make this season for those guys. I was telling Jim before, the stat that blew my mind. In the game where they lost to Michigan State, they gave up 197 yards on the ground and 5 touchdowns to Kenneth Walker. Peyton Thorne's numbers that day, 19 of 30 for a $196 and 2 picks. And they won. So if Ohio State has to run the ball tomorrow, not saying Travion Henderson or any of those boys are Kenneth Walker, but I think the 3 of them, Henderson, Mayan Williams, and Master Teague, can replicate the production. And Travion Henderson's a home run hitter. I don't know if you've seen some of the stuff he's done this year. That dude's got a 5th gear. An absolute 5th gear. So I'm going to ask you a question about the school that's close to you. And do you work for Northwestern? Is that what I remember you saying?
No, the hospital.
Oh, the hospital. Okay.
Hospital, yeah. It's a big conglomerate here within the state of Illinois. They own like 11 hospitals here in Illinois. So they're just a partnership, but that's, not the school. No relation.
Oh, okay. So Ohio State has has Wexler Medical Center. I didn't know if that was something that you guys did up there. But Patty Fitzgerald's still going to have a job, right? Because he's like the man. I love Pat Fitzgerald. There's no stuff coming out of Chicago about that, is there?
No, I mean, not at all. I know that they've had an off year, to say the least. But no, there's definitely been no rumblings of him losing his job. I think he walks on water here in the state of Illinois and in Chicago, as far as I'm concerned.
And not that I'm a proponent of coaches staying, where they are after a certain amount of time, because it's sometimes time to move on. He's one of those that I think could stay there for the rest of his coaching career. He is Northwestern football. Right. I remember the Darnell Autry, Pat Fitzgerald led team that went to the Rose Bowl years ago. That's how old I am. I remember, and he's taken his team to the Big Ten championship game twice in the last 3 years. I was hoping to see them this year. I love him. And listen, they were both close games.
Right.
They had a lead last year at halftime.
They did. I mean, they've definitely been, in those games where probably didn't have a chance, and they've stayed competitive and stayed relevant. It was nowhere near a blowout. So Pat Fitzgerald has earned his stripes here in Chicago, and I know on multiple occasions he's gotten that, that correlation to the, hey, do you want to jump over and go to the pro side here and, be the Bears head coach? But nothing has ever materialized, and I think he's kind of found a home with Northwestern as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, he'd be good there, though.
I would agree, but I mean, I don't know what type of contract or agreement he has with Northwestern, but it doesn't seem to look like he's moving anywhere. I mean, that could change down the road if it makes dollars, it makes sense, but right now, no.
No, and I hear you. And listen, he is awesome. Mm-hmm. I love him. He's a great coach. He's done great things with that program. He has brought in players that, he's getting prestige by getting into these title games and playing teams like Ohio State really tough. I was hoping they would have beaten Michigan earlier in the year, but just not their year. So last couple things about this game, if you could for me. You're going to watch tomorrow? Or you got stuff going on?
No, I'm going to do my best. I do have a wedding tomorrow afternoon, evening. Yeah. But
that's cool.
I'll do my best to catch it. It's just a family friend's wedding, first wedding that I'm attending since my wedding a couple years ago. So,
wow, that's always fun. The first one after your wedding, because you look around, you remember all the stuff that went into planning yours, and you're like, oh, thank God I didn't do that again.
I know. Live and learn.
Exactly. Listen, we'll be 11 years in August, so trust me, I still have all the memories from that too. So, with the things that you've heard us talk about and the things that you and I have talked about, I wanted one key to the game for Michigan to win this game and one key for Ohio State to win this game. If you had to take a guess, what would that be?
Remind me again, who is the quarterback for Michigan? I forgot his name.
Does it matter? I mean, yeah, I know. Bad boy. I wrote everything else down today.
I don't know why I keep blanking on his name. I mean, I hear it, Michigan here in Chicago all
I'm sure you do.
And
Cade McNamara.
Yes. So McNamara and Stroud, I think the biggest key for them is going to be turnovers, limit them as best as possible. I think that's going to really be the deciding factor. And it could be as simple as, a fumble or throwing that pick that could cost you the game. With a couple minutes left in the game, we've seen it happen countless times in college games that mean the most, where a guy gets sacked from behind, coughs up the ball, or throws just a forced pass, ends up in a turnover, changes the entire complexion of the game, or happens like with a couple minutes left, and that's all she wrote. So I think it's a big factor for those two guys to keep the ball in their own hands or to throw it to their respective players.
Yeah, I mentioned a turnover battle before. Oh, the big blue fan just signed on. I'm going to get him in a minute. So I agree. The turnover is going to be huge. Both teams are actually up in the plus minus. Michigan is +7, and Ohio State, I believe, was +9 or 10. So that was pretty big. Well, real quick, when I got 2 minutes, Alex, row 7, how's things going? What's coming up next?
Things are going well. A little bit of a hiatus right now with just how busy things have been, with, some work travel, some, just meetings and trainings and so forth, but definitely looking to get back on the horse here in the next week or two, probably put something together. Cause I know, not football related, but our Chicago Bulls here are kind of making some noise in the East.
Yes.
So it'll definitely be good to kind of, tie some podcasts into them. I'm doing my best to get out to a game or two here in the next couple of weeks. So, maybe do like a live podcast type of thing, just to kind of
tailgating before it. Yeah. I thought about doing that too, for a Buckeye game, going to Rutgers, but this is with COVID and everything, I couldn't go. I will say this, keep your calendar clear. I'll let you guys know, but we are going to do the Big Rican Baseball Show Hot Stove Edition like we did last year. We're going to dive in as the Mets made a huge move today, but we'll get into that another time. Alex, thank you so much, buddy. Happy holidays to you and your family. Hope Thanksgiving was great. And yes. I will talk to you soon, and I'll text you during the game tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good, man. Take care. Take
care, buddy. Thanks again.
Mm-hmm.
So the next gentleman should need no introduction. He is the man behind the Family of Baseball podcast that I happen to be on as often as I can because I ran into it when the baby was born. He is the brains behind the Shakeback Media Group. The man, the myth, the legend, and unfortunately a fan of that team from up north, Mr. Willie Epting Jr. Willie, welcome in, my friend. How you been, brother?
Man, what is going on, Mike? Man, no long time no see. Hope everything is well with you and the family. The Bambino.
Everything is great. Everything is great.
Yes, sir. Hope you guys had a happy Thanksgiving as well. Appreciate you having me on, man.
Oh, listen, I've been wanting to get you on here. Just me not doing as much content because I'm tired, Willie.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. Hey.
And off topic, congratulations to you and your wife on doing all the life coaching thing. I think that's awesome, man. You guys getting all that stuff done anytime. So
appreciate that, man, a whole bunch, man. It's real in the field out here in Dallas. So,
well, good to hear. And I got to say this again. I'm gonna say it online for everybody. The high school stuff you guys did was off the charts, phenomenal.
Thank you, appreciate that. Thank you.
So how many of those boys can be wearing scarlet and gray, Willie?
Well, they have none on their squad right now, as far as I know. The tight end, LaKelsey Johnson Jr., he's already a Baylor commit.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he's like 6'4" and I want to say 240. Standing next to him and getting his interview, man, was it was like Aaron Judge and Jose Altuve standing next to him. So, but yeah, he's a good kid. They're all good kids out there. They didn't have the season that they thought or that they anticipated. They lost their number one receiver, Trent Edwards, in the first game to a torn ACL. Yeah, he's actually a Central Arkansas commit, same school that Scottie Pippen went to. So he's already committed to them. Yeah, so he's been rehabbing. I saw him at the last game we covered. I still follow him on Instagram and on Twitter. He's putting in the work to get back to pre-2021 pre-injury status. So yeah, I'm excited for him as well.
That's awesome. And when you said you're doing Texas, it made me think we got a guy in the backfield from Texas. Mr. Travion Henderson's from Texas.
Yeah, and the receiver,
as was J.K. Dobbins.
Yes, and the receiver that's leading the team in receptions and yards is also from Texas. As a matter of fact, he's from right here in Rockwall.
JSN's from Rockwall?
Yes, he is.
Really?
Yep. And he actually his school and my son's school play each other every year as part of the I-30 Classic. They're big rivals.
Nice.
Yep. And I can tell you he's a beast. He was a man amongst boys a couple years ago when they played against Rockwall Heath.
Oh, he's been outstanding. So let's dive in. I did not know that you were a fan of up there until just a few days ago. I wanted to have you on this show for two reasons. One, I haven't talked to you in a while, and it's always great when we get together. But yes. Two, you have your pulse on the high school football thing, which bleeds into this. And with Ohio State's footprint in Texas, wanted to get your opinion on a couple of the players. But now, whatever, dude, let's go into this. Mm-hmm. Let's go into the greatest rivalry in all of sport. Let's dive into this game on Saturday. I was mentioning to the guys before, a lot of the chatter coming out of ESPN, coming out of Fox, with Joel Klatt and some of these boys, is the pass rush on the outside for Michigan and how they need to use that. I'm going to counter that, and I'm going to ask you, with what they gave up to Michigan State, are you more worried that Henderson and Mayan Williams and Master T can take this game over as opposed to CJ Stroud? Or if you're on the defensive side of the ball, you're more worried about that wide receiver core that really got disrespected without a nomination for the Biletnikoff Award?
Yeah, and I mean, give it up to Ohio State. They have a phenomenal offense led by the young freshman. And if he's not being mentioned as far as, or he's going to be in New York City as one of the Heisman finalists, no doubt about that. And I do agree with you. Those guys on the outside, as far as the receiver goes, and not being mentioned with the Fred Biletnikoff Award, which of course is the top receiver award in the country. When you have Olave, who's really the veteran of the crew and was considered the main guy before Jackson and Garrett, they step on the scene and burst out there on the scene and do what they've been doing. Michigan is going to have a tall task defensively. And when you have the type of weaponry that the Buckeyes have had this might be their best trio of quarterback, running back, and receiver, all the rooms combined. This might be the best combination of the three that they've had in quite some time. And I know those pass rushers from Michigan are outstanding. They can get after you real well. But this is the thing with Ohio State. They can do it to you passing. They can do it to you running. They can do it to you deep. They can do it to you short. They can do it to you intermediate. They can do it to you however they seem fit. And that defense from Michigan, I don't know if it was more of them having relaxed in that game against Michigan State, but you can't give up that type of game or you can't give up that type of a performance by the opposing running back when you know what's coming and you do nothing to stop it. So Michigan's defense, they're going to be up for the biggest task of the season, battling that Stroud kid and all of the weaponry that they have. But I'll say this, man, just like with any quarterback that we talk about, whether it's high school, college, or NFL, if you can get pressure with just the front four and play coverage behind those guys, then you'll have at least a better opportunity to pull off the unthinkable.
I agree with you. And pressure on CJ Stroud's going to be the big thing, which is why I think something that happened last week when they just took it to Michigan State. Mm-hmm. Did you see what they did to them in the first half?
Yeah. I mean, it was criminal.
That 7 for 7.
Mm-hmm.
Willie, I said to Jim, who I do my Wiseguys show with, is a buddy of mine from high school. We've known each other since, let me put it this way. I've known Jim longer than Eddie George, since before Eddie George won his Heisman.
That was 2000.
That was 1995.
Yeah.
I've known Jim a long time.
Yeah.
I sat here on my couch last Saturday, and I'm watching that game. And I figured, okay, this is going to be a typical Michigan State, Ohio State game. They're going to beat each other in the face. It's going to be, that was quick.
Yeah.
Oh, they did it again. And I'm like, I was floored. I was absolutely floored. I think Ohio State's going to have to run the ball. I honestly do. And Travion Henderson didn't play after the first quarter last week.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, why? Why?
They're keeping him fresh.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You're going in there with a fresh, true freshman who's over $1,000 already.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan, we all know Ryan Day is far better than what we thought he was going to be taking over for Urban Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
I thought there was going to be a step back in recruiting. I thought there was going to be a step back in play because it was a new guy, and then we're bringing in a new quarterback. All he's done is win the Big Ten, not lose a game in the regular season in the Big Ten, and actually not lose a game in the Big Ten at all. He's lost three times, excuse me. Clemson in the national semifinal. Bama that was ugly.
Yeah.
And this year to Oregon
in
week 2. So he's a great recruiter. He's got a great offense running. Is this game going to cost Harbaugh his job? Straight out.
You know what? I'll put it to you like this, Mike. If he loses this game individually will not be the reason he loses. It'll be the collective collapse against his rivals, his biggest rivals, Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Michigan. I think he's only won three games, or maybe twice.
2 or 3.
So it will be this will be the final nail in Harbaugh's coffin should he lose this game. I don't see how they can bring him back. And if I'm a Michigan fan, and I don't even want him back if he can't pull this off, because this is probably the most talented team that he's had that can compete with Ohio State. We've seen kinks in Ohio State's armor and what Oregon did to them, and even what Penn State was able to hang around for as long as they did. And I don't know what happened with Michigan State. Michigan State, they just didn't seem ready. It's like they were already defeated before they even stepped on the field.
Yeah, let me drop this in there for you. Michigan State is the single worst pass defense in the country, not the Big Ten, the country. So when you have and we didn't even talk about Jeremy Ruckert yet. When you have that kind of production on the outside and the tight end that can catch the ball against the worst pass defense in the country, you're not gonna you're not going to play well. I didn't see 56-7.
Yeah.
But I saw them being able to throw the ball. I mean, I said this to Jim earlier, and I said, when Harbaugh signed, it was during the Ohio State run to the national championship in the first playoff. The Ezekiel Elliott, Cardale Jones team.
Mm-hmm.
We expected the 10-year war. I will fully say that. I took all my shots at Harbaugh. I made fun of it, whatever. I was waiting for Woody and Bo Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I was waiting for every year this game being a knockdown, drag out, just like 3 yards in a cloud of dust, the whole 9 yards.
Right.
We've gotten one close game in 5 years.
He doesn't just need to keep this game close, Mike. He has to win it. He has to win it. Michigan is on the doorstep, even after giving up that game against the Spartans, a rivalry game, battle for the axe, Paul Bunyan's axe. You are right. It's all out in front of you, Michigan. This is the best opportunity you've had probably since 2006. That memorable game against Ohio State between when Chad Henne and Mario Manningham and all those
Mike
Hart, the kid from you guys that you had at running back. I can't think of his name. Michael Pittman.
I'll go even further than that. Beanie Wells played in that game. Ted Ginn, Anthony Gonzalez, all of them.
Yeah. So this is the best, and I think that Michigan got robbed on that Sean Crable hit on Troy Smith, to be honest with you, but that's just me. But this is the best opportunity that you've had against Ohio State in 15 years. And
let's talk about 16. They were pretty evenly matched too.
Okay, but in terms of this being the game that's right there in front of them that could propel them into the national championship picture, this game because remember back then it was what they were 2-3 or 1-2 or something to that effect in 2006. Yeah,
it was 1 versus 2.
Yeah,
because I will never forget that was 1 versus 2. 10, and that was the week Bo Schembechler died.
Mm-hmm.
10 years later, it's 2 versus 3 in that game, the first overtime game that went to double overtime where, he was this far away. And I have the t-shirt that says, no, the spot was good. That game was 2 versus 3. This is the highest ranked game since then.
Right. Yes. So with what's this at stake, not only is it Harbaugh's job and his legacy and being the Michigan guy, he absolutely has to win this game. This will send Michigan to their first Big Ten national conference championship game under him, and then it puts them right in the driver's seat to grab. I mean, if Michigan can beat Ohio State and then beat Wisconsin or whoever on the other side of the bracket, in the Big Ten championship game, they are going to unseat Cincinnati in terms of being in one of those 4 spots.
I'm going to I don't think they unseat Cincinnati because I think Oklahoma State's going to lose. But I think if they win tomorrow and win the Big Ten, Michigan's going to have the 2 seed.
So you think they're going to jump Alabama?
Yeah, because Bama's going to get boat raced by Georgia. I think they're gonna beat Auburn, but it's going to be close, and then Georgia's going to put the clamps on them. Kirby's waiting for this. Oh, come on, Kirby is waiting for this. He's going to unleash that D-line on that kid, and it's going to be ugly.
Yeah, I do have concerns about Georgia and their offense.
It's terrible.
Yeah, and this is not the 2002, 2003, that era of college football where the defenses are really in more advantageous. It's not like that this time. So Bryce Young for Alabama, he started out very hot. They have a stable of running backs as usual, and their receiver core is, although the names aren't as familiar as what we've seen with Devontae and Jalen and Cam Sims from way back in the day, and Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. Mm-hmm. Those dudes can play.
Their number one wide receiver who is up for the Blitnikoff Award is a kid by the name of Jamison Williams.
Mm-hmm.
He's a transfer. Do you know where from?
Ohio State.
Yeah, he would have been number 4 in the depth chart, and this dude leads the country in receiving.
It just goes.
Here's who's not playing at Ohio State. Emeka Ibuka, who is the number 1 wide receiver in the 2020 class. Harrison. Not Harrison. The father's a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not playing. Julian Fleming caught his first touchdown ever last week. He was the number 1 in the Ibuka was a 2021 class. Fleming was a 2020 class. They're not seeing the field.
Mm-hmm.
Jamison Williams had to transfer to get on the field.
Well,
and he's Saban's number 1 option. I find that hilarious.
Kind of reminds me of a dude by the name of Joe Burrow.
Oh yeah.
You might remember who he was, right?
Yeah. And the funny thing is that Burrow was there when Haskins had to come in for JT Barrett in 2017. Burrow broke his hand in fall camp, could not play. Dwayne Haskins becomes the backup and wins the job in spring camp. That's why Joe Burrow went to LSU.
So is it safe to say that but for it could have been it would have been Burrow at Ohio State instead of going to LSU?
If I personally think if Burrow wouldn't have gotten hurt, it's Burrow at Ohio State instead of Justin Fields.
Who also
because Burrow would have been the starter Haskins year.
Right.
And if he would have taken the same road Haskins went, which was go right to the pros after a phenomenal season, yes, Justin Fields would have transferred. Burrow wasn't ready.
Uh-huh.
Burrow would have stayed the second year. Fields wouldn't have transferred and not started right away.
So, because it seems like the SEC and the Big Ten now have some sort of pipeline.
They do.
Hey, you don't want my player? I'll take yours. Hey, you don't want this player? Send him here. And I know that's not what's going on, but just think about how Justin Fields, Joe Burrow,
the defensive back from LSU who just entered the transfer portal, looks like he's going to end up in Columbus.
Wow. See, and LSU situation, dude, is it's teetering, to put it nicely.
That is putting it nicely, especially since Mel Tucker signed that deal at Michigan State.
Yeah, so that was what 10 years, 95 million or something like that.
Yep,
incredible.
What's Ryan Day going to make?
How much is he making now?
Like 4? No, I think he's making 6. But Mel Tucker's getting 9.5.
Yeah, and Ryan Day has been to how many college football Final Fours?
Both years.
Yeah, both years.
And he's got a 30-point win over Clemson in that.
And he's got and Ryan Day has a 49-point win against the guy that just got 90 million.
Yep, and he also has 2 consecutive Big Ten championships. He's got 0 losses in the Big Ten at all. I mean, the scary part is this season reminds me of 2014.
Uh-huh.
Scarily reminds me of 2014. They don't have the Joey Bosa type player. But what they have is they have a defense that can stop the run, which is what they did. You know, that team played the 3 Heisman finalists in a row.
Uh-huh.
They played he's with Denver, running back from Wisconsin. Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, Melvin Gordon.
They held Melvin Gordon to 51 yards in the Big Ten title game. They won 59-0.
59-0 yeah. And they were underdogs that game. Or
that's because Cardale was playing.
Mm-hmm.
Because JT Barrett got hurt in this game. Then you had Bama with your boy down in Texas there, Mr. Cooper.
Yep.
They held him to under 100 yards receiving.
Mm-hmm.
And then they beat up on Mariota. So now you're going to get Harbaugh here. You're going to get that kid. If you take care of business tomorrow, you get the kid from Wisconsin who's outstanding.
Uh-huh.
Then you go into the playoff. Do you know what I'm hoping for? I hope Cincinnati wins out and somehow gets the 2 seed or the 3 seed.
Yeah, I don't think we really have an issue whether or not they're going to win out or not. I know they're going to be playing in their conference championship game, probably against maybe Houston. Yeah.
The top 15 Houston team.
Yeah. I mean, but if they do beat Houston and they beat them pretty handily, that's only going to further their resume.
Agreed.
So when I said earlier that Michigan can unseat Cincinnati, well, you're right, because as it stands right now, we have Ohio State, or we have Georgia,
Ohio State,
Alabama,
Bama, Cincinnati,
and then Michigan's at number 5. And is it Oklahoma State at 6?
Oklahoma State's at 6 or 7.
Okay. It's going to be chaos, man. It's going to be chaos. Now, I think the team that has the most to lose right now in that top 6 is Ohio State.
They really are.
Because
6 is Notre Dame.
6 is Notre Dame. And Cincinnati is 2, who went to
Notre Dame and beat them.
Yeah. Okay. And Notre Dame hadn't lost a game since.
Nope.
So that further strengthens Cincinnati's resume, right?
So let me give you the top 10. It's Georgia at 1, Ohio State 2, Bama at 3, Cincinnati at 4. They're in the playoff as of right now. Michigan at 5, Notre Dame at 6, Oklahoma State at 7, Baylor's at 8. Ole Miss at 9, who just won the Egg Bowl, and Oklahoma is 10. Wisconsin's 14. So whoever wins tomorrow is going to play a top 15 Wisconsin team in the Big Ten Championship.
Right, but
which is going to further that resume.
Yeah, but even if that happens, if Ohio State gets there and they lose to Wisconsin, they're out. If Michigan gets there,
if either team gets through the other one tomorrow and loses the Big Ten Championship game, Big Ten champion's not coming.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I was going to agree with that. And did you say Baylor was at number 8?
Baylor is at 8. Ole Miss at 9, Oklahoma at 10. So you have not only the 2-5 tomorrow, you have the 7-10 tomorrow.
Yeah, and that's Bedlam.
Yep, Bedlam.
And then you have after that the Big 12 championship game,
which may be Bedlam again,
or it may be Oklahoma State and Baylor because Baylor beat OU a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
Wow.
It's going to be crazy the next 2 weeks.
And so, yeah, this is the last regular season week. Championship.
It's rivalry week. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So
the Apple Cup's going on right now, and I want to say it doesn't really matter because Oregon's already in the Pac-12 championship.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think they may end up playing Utah again, by the way.
And they got destroyed by Utah last weekend.
38-7.
Yeah. I think that Oregon team we may have given them a little bit more credit than they're due.
You know what? I look at it this way. And I'm not making excuses for my guys for losing that game because they were in it. They should have won that game.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the reality. C.J. Stroud's first pass in a college game was the week before. The defense has gotten better and better each week. Thibodeau didn't play. So could that have been a bigger loss for Ohio State? Could have been. So look, the next 2 weeks are going to be so much fun.
Yeah.
I love this time of year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, I think it's a foregone conclusion that it doesn't matter what happens. Georgia is going to be they're not going to fall from 1 to 5. I don't think that's going to happen. Even if they lose to Alabama.
If they lose to Georgia Tech, it could.
No, they're not going to lose to Georgia Tech.
I don't think they're going to lose to Georgia Tech either.
Clean old fashioned hate. They're not going to lose to Georgia Tech. But
like this game.
Hey, you know what? I'm big, man, into the names of rivalries. I think that's one of the coolest rivalry names out there. Clean old fashioned hate. Exactly.
That may be one of the best ones to say, but remember, ours is just simply the game.
Yeah.
It's and I said it before. I love this quote from Urban Meyer. It's the greatest rivalry in all sport. And it's just, what other rivalry has something called the 10-year war?
Well, I will say this. It used to be the Red River Shootout between Texas and OU.
Yes, it was.
It used to be the world's largest cocktail party between Florida and Georgia.
That's
The
also
world's
true.
largest cocktail party. They had to
Well, that's
change.
because they're nothing but drunks.
That's why they had to change the name, because we're still dealing with college kids, underage college kids.
Oh, come on. They all know. What was it? No, my personal favorite was the few years in the 80s when Miami played Notre Dame and it was the Catholics versus the convicts.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, carried over to John Carroll versus Mount Union.
Okay, so that's
like D3.
Uh-huh.
That Mount Union has won like 14 of the last 17 titles in D3.
Uh-huh.
They're a small school from southeast Ohio.
Uh-huh.
And John Carroll's their biggest rival. So I have friends who went to John Carroll. They have T-shirts of the Catholics versus the convicts when they played Mount Union.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
John Carroll University. You know who went to John Carroll? Mr. London Fletcher.
Really?
Yes.
He would look, that dude, if he doesn't get in the Hall of Fame, something's wrong.
How is Eddie George not in yet?
That's a very good question. I mean, but okay, so let's chop that up. And I know we're getting away from Michigan and Ohio State, but
well, it's Eddie George.
Yeah, well, that's still Ohio State, so you're right. How is he okay? In the NFL, to me, to be qualified as a Hall of Famer, you have to be one of those players with the ability to change the game, where defensive coordinators stay up at night thinking about you, and not just for 3 or 4 seasons, but at least 7 or 8 seasons. Was Eddie George that guy?
I think so, but it could be bias because of where he went to school. Now, I'm pulling up his numbers. Outside of his 1 year with Dallas.
You're talking 1 year, didn't he?
Huh?
He led the league in rushing 1 year, didn't he?
A few times.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was a few times. Of course, he was the key cog in the offense that went to the that Super Bowl. But a lot of Eddie George's, the reason he wasn't, well thought of as being that guy is because of who his quarterback was.
Steve McNair.
Steve McNair.
And my favorite player of all time.
Was he really? Oh,
yeah.
He was fun.
Yeah.
Listen, how many 10,000-yard backs aren't in there? How many 10,000-yard backs with 2,300 yards receiving in their career aren't in?
Well, I can't think of anybody that's not in with 10,000. I mean, Frank Gordon, that's only because he's not eligible yet.
Well, Frank Gore's still playing somewhere. Isn't his kid old in playing college?
Yeah, I think so. But Frank Gore is actually boxing now. He's got a match against Darren Williams from played with the Nets, played with the
Cavaliers.
Played with the Cavaliers, yeah. They've got a boxing match coming up.
Oh my God. Can I ask a favor? Can he seriously just knock Darren Williams out? Please?
You know what? Frank Gore he's like a lump of muscle.
Exactly. And Darren Williams is
he's 6'4". Darren Williams, I think, is 6'2". Frank Gore is 5'8".
Is he really?
Frank Gore is my height. He's 5'8".
Let me give you one stat, and then we'll jump back to the game quick.
Okay.
He's got 3,000 more yards than TD.
Terrell Davis?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Terrell Davis has 2 Super Bowls and a Super Bowl MVP. I think that actually sways it a little bit.
First of all, the Super Bowl MVP is the single worst award ever given out. I'll tell you why. You ready?
Yeah.
Who threw the only touchdown pass in Super Bowl III?
Joe Namath.
Johnny Unitas.
16-7. Right?
Yeah.
No.
16-7.
Uh-huh.
The only touchdown scored was by Ohio State alum Matt Snell. Namath didn't throw a touchdown, but he was the Super Bowl MVP.
It's a quarterback award. But
hold on. Eli Manning's got 2 of them, and his defensive line beat up Tom Brady for 2 straight games.
Yeah, but he did lead them on the march, though, to Go ahead.
Guy made 3 good throws in 2 games, and his 2 Super Bowl MVPs is going to have a gold jacket.
So you saying that Eli shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame? He's in the
I'm
Hall
saying
of
I'm saying the Super Bowl MVP shouldn't matter.
Oh, well. I guess it kind of depends on the era. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah,
Maybe.
well, and he also did take down the only team that gave the 71 Dolphins a run for their money.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had a key to the game for your boys to get this done, what would it be?
Run the ball. Run the ball. And then when you're finished running the ball, guess what?
Run
the ball some more, because you have to find a way to neutralize that high-powered, high-octane, rocket fuel, jet fuel offense from that team to the south.
You used rocket fuel and jet fuel in one sentence. I love it.
Yeah. Hey, man, it's just because look, if they get in, they cannot, not many teams in America, not just in the Big Ten or in the Big 12, where defense has been optional for the last several years. There are not many teams that could get in a track meet with Ohio State.
No.
It's just you just can't do it. Alabama might be able to. Georgia can't. If Ohio State meets Georgia in the college football playoff, it's going to be ugly.
See, I agree with you, and I will say this: 2 things on what you said about running the ball. I agree with you. If they can get the ground game going, they can limit the amount of time C.J. Stroud's going to have the ball. I would also say that Ohio State also needs to run the ball with those 2 great defensive ends that Michigan can bring you. But if this turns into a shootout, it's not going to last long.
Yeah, you're right. And Haskins and Corum have a combined 1,800 yards running the ball and 23 scores. So you got a two-headed attack that could easily, I shouldn't say easily, that can conceivably be the 2 sole proprietors in keeping Ohio State off the field. Now, I know Ohio State has a plethora of running backs too, but Michigan is known for the ground and pound. They're known for the 3 yards in the cloud, or 3 downs in the cloud of dust. I think Ohio State can play that way and win that way, but they'd rather not.
No, they'd rather sling it.
Not against this team.
No, well, maybe against this team, the whole punch in the mouth philosophy. Because this is going to be ugly. The coaches actually hate each other, which I think is phenomenal.
Yeah.
There was a healthy respect between Urban Meyer and Jim Harbaugh. Ryan Day don't like him. You know who I watch a lot is RJ Young.
Mm-hmm.
He was at Big Ten Media Days, and he said, "Say 3 nice things about your rival." And Day goes, "No," and just left it like that.
Well, I mean, he's taking on the full blunt of the rivalry, so I don't have a problem with that.
No, me neither. This is going to be, and I think it's more because I was indoctrinated into this. I wasn't born into it. That I dove in so hard with it. But like I was telling the guy, this is the one game a year where I am to be left alone. This is bigger. The only thing that will be bigger is if I had tickets to Game 7 of the World Series at Citi Field.
Sports.
That would be they got to figure out what they're doing first. But I got to have you on to talk about that yet too.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, tomorrow I would say yes, Michigan has to run the ball and put pressure on C.J. Stroud. Ohio State has to tune up that number 6 ranked defense against the run and stop it, because I don't think McNamara can beat them with his arm.
No.
Not with Denzel Burke and Seven Banks and those boys in the defensive secondary.
Yeah. McNamara is more of a game manager. Turn around and hand the ball off, or zone read, or whatever they're
throw
doing.
A slant when you need to.
Yeah. And look, as far as Michigan's wide receivers go, that kid that they got from he's actually from East Lansing. and he put on the show earlier or in the first half against the Spartans. They have some playmakers on the outside.
They do.
They do. And if they can effectively run the ball and set up play action and find holes in that zone defense and can somehow keep the athletic Buckeyes on that side of the field a little bit off balance and on their toes or on their heels, rather, I think they have a good shot. I know that's a lot of ifs, but still.
No, and listen, like I told Jim at the beginning of the show, I'm not calling blowout for this. I'm not. You know, it's 2018 took me by surprise. 2019, not so much, because we knew they were kind of on a down. They had a down year that year. But 2018, 60 points against that defense.
Yeah.
Who was the linebacker that coined the revenge tour thing? He plays for New England now. Is that Chase Winovich?
Ninkovich?
No, not Ninkovich. Him I can't stomach. I can't. I've never seen someone hate Baker Mayfield more.
Yeah. That's another subject for another day.
Yeah.
Is it the kid that went to Florida?
The kid with the long blonde hair, with the Devin Bush year and the
I can't remember.
Me neither. Yeah, it's Chase Winovich.
Okay.
Yeah, that looks like he's doing a Head and Shoulders commercial in his picture online. Leave that to Palomalo, would you?
Yeah.
So, I would close this out because it's getting late. It's past my bedtime. I'm going to turn into a pumpkin.
I'm going to turn into a brown skinny pumpkin.
All I got to do is put on my 7-line Army hoodie and I look like a pumpkin. Anyway. Willie, again, I want to thank you so much for coming on. It's been a while since I talked to you, and I am definitely going to make as much time as I possibly can to get on with you with baseball season coming. And I'm going to extend the invitation. I said this to Alex. I don't know if you heard. The Big Rican Baseball Show is going to do our hot stove show in the next couple weeks. Okay. I got to put it together. I'd love to get you guys on there, especially if it's the four of us. We got a Cub fan, a White Sox fan. I got you on the West Coast. I got me on the East Coast.
Yep, we got the four corners covered almost.
Exactly. So let me ask you this: Ballers Report, how's that going?
That show, man, is phenomenal.
Awesome.
Phenomenal. The Warzone Sports Network, they've allowed me to use their platform on YouTube and Twitter, and what I tell you, Mike, that I'm getting 400, 500, 600 viewers on that podcast. It is tremendous. And I've got some things in the works that I'm trying to take us to the next level. Of course, you're part of us. Go to our website, shakebackgroup.com. Mike is on there. He is on there. I've got some things that I'm trying to put together that's going to elevate us to another level.
Nice.
And I have a meeting with somebody on Monday, and I'm very, very excited about it. And my guy, John Motley, J Mott, he's the Senior VP of Marketing and Brand Awareness for the Shakeback Media Group. I got him on assignment. I need you to get us some sponsors because we're going somewhere.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, listen, I appreciate everything that you have helped me open a door for me too. Thank you so much for being on here tonight. I will talk to you in a couple weeks. And listen, we'll be in touch on this tomorrow.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Enjoy the game, Willie. Thank you again so much.
All right, man. Good night.
Take care. Well, that's it, everybody. We are now T-minus 15 hours or 14 hours and 7 minutes from kickoff in Ann Arbor. So now I'm going to give you my prediction. I think Ohio State goes up to Ann Arbor and for the ninth year in a row, wins the game. It'll be a close one. They will win by 2 scores. I think it's going to be 42-28. Michigan's got a great team and a good defense. I do not believe this will cost Jim Harbaugh his job. But I will say this. I have gotten the clearance from Jim to read a eulogy for Jim Harbaugh's career if this game goes the way a lot of people think it's going to go. But listen, I will come back to you in the next few weeks. As I said, Big Rican Baseball Show is going to have the Hot Stove Show in the next few weeks with Willie, Tone, and Alex. You got the Wiseguys Show next week with Jim. And I'm going to bring you a Mets season wrap and what I think they need to do for the coming year. As always, Big Rican can be found here on the YouTube channel and the Facebook page, Twitter at Big Rican on Sport. On Spotify is one of the new video podcasts through Anchor. So Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Google, and just ask Alexa, play Big Rican. Thanks so much for everybody who tuned in tonight. Thanks to all the guys who came on again. I told you in the group text message, this is the big one for me, and to have you guys on was awesome. Jim, I'll see you next week. Alex, I'll see you in a couple weeks. Willie, again, thank you. And there's only one last thing to say. OHIO, go Bucks.